YouTube exclusive episode in here today. Yesterday we did the NBA playoff brackets, and today we're going to be doing the NHL playoff brackets. And this is going to be very interesting because my team, for the first time in 16 years, is not in it. And I'm not very happy about that. But this is going to definitely a lot of good teams in here, and it's going to be very fun to watch. I think there's a lot of great matchups in this playoffs here, and I think this is going to be a fun one to watch. So let's get into it here. And first off, we're going to start off with the Eastern Conference here. First game off here. The Boston Bruins versus the Florida Panthers. I think this is going to be Boston. Do I get to pick in how many games or not? Let's see here. No, actually I don't. Okay. It's been a while since I've used this one, so yeah. Alright, so I'm going to say this is going to be in 5 games. I think Boston takes care of Florida. But Florida does put up a fight. But I think as right now, to this point, Boston is too good right now. And I just, they're the President's Trophy winner. They broke the record for winning, for amount of games won in a season this year. They were a very tough team to beat. And in my mind, Florida, they've had a lot of ups and downs and struggles so far. They have the talent to beat the Bruins. The problem is consistency. They has not been consistent this year, and they've got very lucky toward the end of the stretch. They got it together and, made the playoffs. But there was a decent time here where it looked like they were not going to be in the playoffs. I have a lot of questions with Florida. They definitely have the talent. They have, of course, Barkov, Brady Tkachuk, Aaron Ekblad on the defense. They have a lot of great young talent. Wago as well. I think they still have him, if I'm not mistaken. I think, they have a lot of great talent on that team. And goaltending, too, is definitely stronger. Bobrovsky still is not really played up to his contract, but Spencer Knight, he has been getting in there a lot more as of recently, and I think they should be a decent team here, in my mind, but I don't think they can get past Boston, because as of right now, Boston is just too good right now, in my mind, here. But moving on to the Western Conference here, the Seattle Kraken and the Colorado Avalanche. This is going to be an interesting one, and I'm going to go with the Avalanche here, but this is going to be in 6 to 7 games, I will say. They're both very good teams. I think they're very close together. The Colorado Avalanche, they are not as good as last year here. But they also are missing their captain, Mikko Rantanen. Obviously, that's, Landeskog, my bad. Got mixed up there for a sec. Gabriel Landeskog, of course, that's the big piece they're missing, their captain. But they're still a very good, solid team. And the Kraken, they have struggled a lot in the second half here. But they did have a great first half to help them get them here. They were a very young team, and they're very inexperienced right now. I'm not the biggest fan of Dave Haskell, who is, of course, Seattle's coach. But what I'm going to say is this will be a competitive series, but I just think they just don't have the playoff experience yet. This is their first time a lot of young guys come through who haven't played in the playoffs before when it comes to Seattle. I think they will probably lose in round 6 in this year. But they'll be back, and they'll be a lot stronger next year, especially when Shane Wright finally gets a whole 4 year in the NHL, and we can see what he can really do and given the opportunity to play. But moving on here now back to the East here, we have Toronto versus Tampa Bay Lightning, and I'll make this easy for you all here. Toronto is cursed. They are not making it past the first round again. I don't think they're getting past the first round. I'd be very surprised if they get past the first round. They have the talent to do it, but they also have the talent last year, and the year before, and the year before that. This team just cannot get out of the first round. They're actually cursed. I legitimately believe they are cursed, and I don't think they have a chance. And Tampa Bay, they did have some struggles last year, but trust me, in the years they struggle, they normally do, when they make the playoffs, they normally do very good, and I think Tampa Bay is going to do good again. Tampa Bay is always a team that shows up at least in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. They will show up and they will probably win games. I'd be very surprised Tampa Bay loses this. Now, saying this here, both teams very talented. Kucherov scores great on the one end of Tampa Bay. Then, of course, on the other end, you got Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. But the way I see this series here, I think it's going to be a very closely contested 7-game series, but in the end, Tampa Bay will pull out the victory here and move on to the second round and face Boston. That's just the way I see it, and I think that is how it will play out in my mind. But next up here, we have the Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild here, and on the western side, I'm gonna say here, I think this is Dallas, but it's 7 games. They're both very similar teams in the way of just how they play. I think they're very similar, and their styles really do play out in that way. But yeah, I definitely think it'll be a close 7 game series. But when it comes down to it at the end, I think Dallas just has more talent. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, for the most part, Minnesota is pretty much just Kirill Kaprizov in my mind. They have some decent guys beside them, but they only have one real superstar player. And Dallas, of course, has Jason Robertson, Jake Onegor, the goalie, who's been a revelation for them this year. They still got Sagan and Ben, and they got Pavelski. And of course Heiskanen too. Neglected him there for a sec, but he's also one of the better younger defensemen in the league. Of course, former second overall pick. I just think Dallas has a lot more firepower and young potential here, and I think they're gonna. Definitely make some noise in this playoffs here, and I just can't see Minnesota getting past them because I just don't think Minnesota has that amount of firepower. I think Minnesota, for the most part, has got pretty lucky this year when it comes to their games and how they've come out. So who knows? Maybe they'll still have their luck going. But just the way I see it, I just think Dallas is just the better team overall over the two. But I think it can be a close 7 game series in my mind. So give me Dallas in 7 on that. But next up here we have the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Islanders. And I'm gonna go the Carolina Hurricanes here. I think the Islanders, they're an up and down team. And they got lucky toward the end there. They're lucky the Penguins collapsed in the most depressing way possible. But they got lucky there, and they're pretty lucky to make it. And I know this is a Carolina team without TiVo. Without TiVo, of course, obviously. And, they're not 100%, they're health-wise, because Timo Teravainen is, one of their best players. But they still have a lot of talent there. And I think this is the year Carolina, if they're going to make a push, it's going to be this year. And I think this is the year they do make that push to get there. And I definitely think here, the Islanders, they're up and down. It's very confusing what all's happening. Lou Lamoriello, he's made a very strange team, I think, in my mind. I guess a lot of great role players, but also you got Mats Barzal is coming back, so that could help them. But I think just Carolina is a better team. The only one area that could cause an issue for Carolina, however, I will say, with the Islanders is, of course, the goalie, Sorokin. He is very good. I think he is one of the best out there and definitely is a name to be considered for the Vezina Trophy this year. But the way I see this here, I think Carolina wins in 6. I just don't think the Islanders are that good of a team. I think they benefited from a late season collapse from the Penguins. That's what saved them. But I just don't think they're that good of a team. And I think when we come back next year, I don't think they're a playoff team next year for sure. Because there's a lot of teams that are going to start rising in the Metro, including Columbus. And I would not be surprised if Pittsburgh now are filing Hextall if they make a ton of moves this offseason and are back in the driver's seat next year. And same thing in Washington too, is that Washington realized this year that they weren't going to be able to make it. So they decided to sell off a little bit for the future. And what they got themselves a great defensive player in Demasis. I can't figure his name. I just forgot his name. I'm going to pause it. But you got Sandin, that's what it is, from Carolina. Toronto, not Carolina. But yeah, I think definitely, of course, I think Washington and the Penguins with the new GM, because I'm expecting here what to happen is, what I'm expecting here is Toronto losing the first round, they fire Dubas. The Penguins are going to hire Dubas in probably around 5 seconds, I would bet, yeah. So I would bet both Washington and Pittsburgh, they are going to do some decent retooling this offseason, and I would expect them to still be in play by this point. But also, I think Columbus, depending on the draft lottery, they could get Bedard. That could also cause you issues if you're the Islanders, or just in general in the Metro. That could cause you issues. So you have to watch out for that. And I just right now, I think they'll heal more because of luck, but they'll stay in it at least and win 6 games. But at least take it to 6. But I think how this will go is Carolina in 6. But next up here, we have in the Western Conference here, we have the Golden Knights, and Winnipeg. And in this one, I'm going to go with the upset here. Give me Winnipeg. This is a team that's played their hearts out all year. I think they are the team that can go on a big run here. At least get past the first round. I think they can at least do that. Vegas is definitely hot right now. Their goalie, the rookie sensation, Logan Thompson, is out with an injury, and it does not seem like he'll be back. He's still not skating. So goaltending right now, it depends on Jonathan Quick and Busquets. And I'm just honestly, Vegas is a very good team, and they have a lot to build on. But just the injuries at goalie, I think that's what's going to kill him. Because Connor Hellebuck, he has not been as good as he has been in the past. But he's still been a very good goalie this year for Winnipeg. And guys like Eichel are definitely going to have trouble scoring on him for Vegas. And if your goaltender on Vegas, if he just is not that good, you're going to have issues. Because here's the thing. The thing of Winnipeg is, they were a tough team to score on. Because they got Connor Hellebuck. He is one of the best out there. Like, if you can't score, you're going to lose. And if you can't defend the goal, you're going to lose. And right now, they're definitely struggling defending the goal. And if you can't defend the goal, I don't think you're going to win. That being said, I think this is Winnipeg in 6 games. I just don't think Vegas, with the circumstances they have right now, with the injuries to the goaltender, of course, Logan Thompson, the rookie sensation, who is probably one of the main reasons for their success this year. It's been him and Eichel. I just don't think they can get past Winnipeg with those injuries because you got Connor Hellebuck in here, right? And if you can't score on them and they can score on you, you're going to lose that series. Because that is what this series will come down to. And I think that's where Vegas is going to fail this year. But Vegas will still have something to build on, of course. And I do think they are trending in the right direction, franchise-wise. And I think they can get back to a Stanley Cup. The problem is this year, it's just the injuries that they're facing is going to cause them a lot of issues. And I don't think they can get past Hellebuck if their goaltending situation is as bad as it is right now. But next up here we have the New Jersey Devils and New York Rangers. This is going to be a very fun series. A lot of firepower on both sides, especially scoring-wise. But in this series here, I think New Jersey's a little inept when it comes to playoff experience. A lot of those guys have not played in a playoff series in their careers. And the New York Rangers, they have a ton of experience playoff-wise. And much as I hate saying this here, I think the New York Rangers are going to win in 7 here. So, okay, I'm not sure why that was that, but okay. Oh, now it is as for number of games. Okay. So, now I can put the number of games in. Alright, so, Boston 5, 6, 7, 7. There you go. Okay. That's a little weird how they do the games, but alright, that's how they do it. Okay, cool. But the way I see it right now here is, I just think that Kane's the better, not the Canes. I was about to talk about Kane, but yeah. I think his addition to the Rangers and Tarasenko's have really helped them. Alexis Lafreniere has finally shown off why he was the first overall pick in 2020. And the Rangers are on a team right now. I'm going to say this is the year they need to do something. Because there's going to be a lot more competition. The Devils are going to be a definite problem for the Metro for years to come. And I think if of course, the Penguins and Washington can retool to be younger teams, they can be definite problems for the Rangers. And even the Islanders, and of course, the Hurricanes obviously are going to be a problem for them. And also the Islanders, if they play their cards correctly, they could still be a problem. There's just a lot of problem makers here. And if you're in New York, you need to win now, in my mind. That's why you trade for Patrick Kane. That's why you trade for Vladimir Tarasenko. And I think they are the better team. They're very similar teams, but I think playoff experiences is what's going to add to the New York Rangers out of this series and on to the second round here. So I'm going to go with that. So yeah. So I'm going to say New York Rangers in 7. And last up here we have the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. I'm going to go in Edmonton, but it's going to be in 6. I think this year they will at least get closer to what they want, in the way of, for the most part, achieving the Stanley Cup. Because they still have definite holes on their roster, but I do think they're a better team this year. They have improved. Connor McDavid, of course, is still playing out of his mind right now. And the way I see things really is I do think, for the most part, Edmonton can win this in 6 games, but it's going to be a tough, hard-fought series, but Edmonton will pull out in the end here. So, moving on here, we have Tampa Bay Lightning and the Boston Bruins in the second round. I'm going to go with, we're going to see an upset. I think right now, the Bruins are really good, but they have been known in the past to blow it in the playoffs. I think someone's going to take them down eventually, and I think that team is Tampa Bay. I do think they take down the Bruins, because the Bruins they've just been too good right now, but I definitely just think someone's going to get cocky in that locker room, and they're going to screw it up. And I think Tampa Bay is the perfect team to cause them the issue. I think Tampa Bay, when it comes playoff time, they come to play, and I think that can cause issues for the Bruins. That being said, this is a series that I can see going either way. I don't think, as good as the Bruins have been this year, the last team that got around that many, win totals, they got swept in the first round by the 16th seed. So, the regular season records don't mean anything in my mind here. What really matters is the teams, and I think Tampa Bay, the way they play, I think they play well against Boston in my mind. I just think they're the better team. Now, this is obviously going to be a 7-game series, and I think it really does come down to the wire. But out of these two teams, I think Tampa Bay is the one that can prevail and get the edge. So I'm going to say here that this is going to be, for the most part here, a hard-fought 7-game series, but Tampa Bay is going to take the win here. So moving on here to Colorado here, and Dallas here, these two teams, I think actually this is going to be the upset here. I think the upset is going to be Dallas, and it's going to be in 7 games. I just think right now Colorado's had a lot of injuries, problems, and these two teams are very close in the standings, and they were close toward the end there. They were very banged up, the Avalanche are, and this is not a full strength right now. Like, they're still a very good team, but Dallas has a lot of momentum right now, and I do think Dallas can pull out a big game here, and I think they're going to win in 7. But it's going to be a tough, hard-fought series, and there's going to be a lot of fighting right to the end there. But yeah, I'm going to go with Dallas on that. But moving on here to the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers, I'm going to go Carolina here. I think Carolina, this is the year they do it. I do think this is the year they finally get to where they're supposed to be. I think even without Timo Teravainen, which is a definite loss for them, they've still rallied on. They've kept winning games. I think this is the year they can finally make the move here and get at it. This is like the year you need to do something, and I think this is. Now, this, of course, obviously, it's going to be a hard-fought 7-game series. But the thing with the Rangers is there's been inconsistency this year. It's gone better with Kane and Tarasenko being added, but I think right now, as I see this, I think Carolina is the team this year that's going to make some noise, and I think this is the perfect spot. They make some noise, and they're going to upset for the most part here. I guess they're the 1 seed, and the New York Rangers are the 3, but the top 3 in the Metro are pretty similar, so any way I see it, I can see it as an upset in my mind. But I think Carolina's the better team here, and I think that's what is going to happen. So I'm going to say Carolina in 7 games, but it's a hard-fought, close match here. But moving on here to Edmonton versus Winnipeg, I'm going to go with Edmonton here. I think this is going to be a 5-game series. I don't think Edmonton will have much trouble with Winnipeg. I do think they are pretty much going to be close there. And I think Edmonton, this is the time and the place here where you can start making a move at a cup. I think this is the year where they do take the next step, which they've been hoping to do for the last couple of years. I think this is the year they take the step. The way Connor McDavid has been playing, like, you do expect them to at least get to the conference finals. And I think this is the year they do make it to the conference finals, in my mind here. And I think this is the year they do finally make some noise in the playoffs. But yeah, that pretty much will finish it out here for the second round here of the playoffs. And just not making me pick who and what. That's interesting. There's an interesting way back they have here. So we'll see how it works. But moving on to the Eastern Conference Final here. Tampa Bay versus the Carolina Hurricanes. Both very similar teams. They score around the same amount per game. But the Islanders, the Hurricanes, they definitely have a better penalty kill, but they don't have the better power play. But out of these two teams, the way I see it this year, I think it's going to be Carolina. I think Carolina, this is the year they finally do something here. And I'm going to say this is a hard-fought 7-game series, but Carolina and the Hurricanes are going to prevail. And I think someone to watch in this series here is going to be Sebastian Aho. I think he is going to make some noise right here, right now, and he's going to get his team to where they need to be to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since 2006. So I'm going to go with them, though. And the Pirates just lost to the Cardinals. Yeah, that's fun. In extra innings. Alright. I blew that. Alright. So, but moving on here. Western Conference Finals here. We have Dallas and Edmonton. And this is going to be a fun series, but I think it's going to be a 6-game one. And what I think is going to be a lot of firepower, a lot of scoring between both teams. On-goal is going to be tough to get past. But I think the duo of Draisaitl and McDavid are going to do it. And they are going to make the Stanley Cup Finals here. In my mind, I think Dallas, they have a nice run, but I think they just do sputter out here in the conference finals. The thing is with the Western Conference, there's a lot of movement and ground where they can make some firepower noise here. And I think this is the one year they can finally get there to where they need to be. So I'm going to go with Edmonton winning the Western Conference. So now we have a Stanley Cup final here with the Carolina Hurricanes and the Edmonton Oilers. And what I'm going to go with here out of these two teams is I'm going to go with Carolina. I think as good as Connor McDavid is, he's been a spectacular player all year. But when it comes down to it in the Stanley Cup Finals, you need to have more than just one really good player. And Draisaitl's good too, but they can't win you the Stanley Cup in my mind. You need more, and I just don't think Edmonton in this series against Carolina will get it out of them. I think Carolina, this is the year. They've been through a lot, and they're going to continue to go here. And in my mind, the way I see it, the Carolina Hurricanes are going to do what needs to be done. They're going to play a better style all around. They have the better goaltender. I think they have the better defensive core. Forward power, Edmonton's got Draisaitl and McDavid, but other than that, there's not much there, I guess. Nugent Hopkins is also had a good year. He has been underrated a lot, but I just think the Carolina Hurricanes have a better team in general, and I think the Hurricanes are the team that makes the firepower, and I think this is the year Carolina finally fulfills its dreams of getting to the Stanley Cup Finals, and I think they're going to win it, in my mind here. So, total goals scored in the Stanley Cup Finals, it's going to be a lot. I'm going to go with 34. Yep. Yeah, so, I guess that's the tiebreaker, so I have to do that. But yeah. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked and subscribed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and tune in for more. And with the playoffs here, we're going to be doing some other stuff. I know Penguins-wise, there's going to be some talk about Hextall and the whole firing situation there soon. But also, we got the NFL draft coming up. There's already been some mock drafts. Expect some more draft stuff coming out here soon as we get closer to that date in about 2 weeks here. Basketball stuff, playoff-wise. If you haven't seen that one, if you're interested in the NBA, check that out. We did a bracket yesterday for the playoffs. And also, if you're in baseball, baseball just started up, and there'll be a lot more baseball stuff as well. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and hope to see you guys soon. Bye.